Welcome to another episode of Evolve and Inspire. Today we have Kaya Ismail, founder of Wasia. Assalamu alaikum Kaya, how are you doing? You okay?
Walaikum salam, bro. I'm well. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good.
Alhamdulillah.
Let's cut right through it. So tell me about where you grew up.
So I was born in Enfield, North London, and I remained there for about 24 years. I think it's 24, 25. No, 26, about 26, 27 when I moved here. So yeah, quarter of a century.
And how were you at school? How was your upbringing?
So school, I was like an average kid, man. I was like a middle of the road. I wasn't particularly great at school. Wasn't particularly bad. I didn't work crazy hard. I didn't slack. I was like middle of the road, quite average. I enjoyed school, but yeah, I wasn't like a standout in any real way, to be honest with you. Upbringing was, alhamdulillah, nice, good upbringing. You know, sort of foreign parents, but my parents were also born in the UK, but obviously very heavy influence from their parents who were born in Cyprus. I'm Turkish Cypriot, so we had that sort of foreign, parental influence happening, which I think was good. I think that's a blessing. So I think a lot of people relate to that sort of dynamic. But yeah, that's.
What did you do after school?
That's a good question. What did I do after school? So I distinctly remember like the internet becoming a thing. Yeah, I don't know if you remember when the internet come out. Yeah. The dial-up tone.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that marked. I don't know what I was doing before that, to be honest with you, other than maybe playing Nintendo 64 or something like that with my older brother. But then when the internet came out, it was just like we had a computer room, so we had an area to go where me and my brother would sort of like just play games on the computer or go on the internet, and so we would just do that. We'd just like mostly play games on the computer or just research new softwares that were dropping. All sorts of different softwares that were dropping at the time, and CDs were a thing. We'd look at the CDs and how what we're doing with that. So I get a big part of my after school culture was like the computer, and maybe that shaped a lot of the way I think now, to be honest with you.
After you finished your studies, did you go down the traditional route of college, university?
Yes and no. So I went down the traditional route of university, but I dropped out after 3.5 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why did you drop out?
So I decided, I guess I was kind of guided to, towards that, you have to go to university, right? As part of a healthy person's career journey, university has to be there. Even though I didn't really feel a massive pull to it, and I didn't know what I wanted to study, there was an expectation on me. So I liked art and design. I liked being creative, but I knew that I didn't want to do like an art degree because, I could just draw in my room. I don't need to go and do art somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, how can I, couple that passion with something that can make me money, right? Because I knew going to university, even back then, it was expensive. It was $3,000 a year, becoming $9,000 a year, right? So it was about to become expensive. So you were
at that point.
Yeah. So I knew I was going to spend a lot of money doing this. I wanted to make money from what I was doing. So I thought, okay, architecture, right? Creative, and also I can be rich from it one day maybe. Yeah. So I went down that route, but I absolutely hated it. I hated the sort of the type of. Again, I expected it to be creative. It was far less creative and more mathematical. Okay. Right, it's very much like you're building buildings at the end of the day, right? You have to make sure this stuff stands up. It's engineering more than art.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. I actually really disliked maths. So that coupled with a few other things I just didn't like in the whole university life and culture. I just thought, look, I'm 3.5 months in. This is a 7-year course, right? Architecture is literally more intensive than being a doctor.
7 years.
7 years.
Wow.
And even then, you're not considered like a proper architect for 7 years. And you just
like a junior.
Yeah, you're a junior now. It's like, oh, great. So it wasn't a case of, let me just do it for 2 years and see where I'm at. If you're in it, you're in it, right? You don't do a 7-year course and change paths. You're an architect now. So I thought, let me drop out sooner rather than later here. So I did that. Worked with my dad for a while. He had his own business. He always has. That probably, again, shaped how I think.
What did he do?
So at the time, he was working with local councils in the UK to provide support for young juveniles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they needed semi-independent living where they were a bit too dangerous, if you will, or too much for their parents to handle. But they weren't yet criminals. They weren't in a jail system or any sort. Plus, they were young. Yeah. So they would have these sort of houses that were man-staffed 24/7.
Yep.
To keep an eye on them, try and put them on the right track, keep them out of trouble. So those houses is what my dad's business was, managing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't in the houses though. I was like in the admin. I was in the admin in the head office.
Oh,
so,
you're in the admin.
Yeah. So, but it was interesting. Yeah.
And then what did you do after that?
So about a year and a half of that. During that time, I started to understand that yes, I was creative, but I like to be creative in a way that builds things, launches things, business. Right. I want to be creative in that way. I'm a marketer. So I started researching what can I sort of build and do online. What websites can I do? And I launched a few like small businesses online here and there. Learned to build websites. Learned to blog and do SEO marketing, things like this. So I eventually got a writing gig, like a small writing job, earning a very small amount of money for writing some articles on games and things like this, or reviewing games.
Yeah.
And just from there, alhamdulillah, snowballed into like different topics until I sort of landed in CMS, content management systems, which is like a type of software. And I started writing about that. And I eventually wrote for a large website in that industry over a course of 2 or 3 years, become the editor of that website, started to attend events, people started to recognize me as like an authority in that space. And 10, 12 years later, I'm still in that space, marketing. But I'm also expanding out into other sort of industry, as you know, but using the same skills. Yeah.
So in that space, you've currently got a business now. Yeah.
So my original business my business that I started in the UK and moved here is called Wordify, and it's a marketing agency. So we help again those kind of software, CMS software, but also now any SaaS we help them with content marketing, sales funnels, automations, ads, landing pages, email flows, everything in between, LinkedIn content to essentially generate leads, generate demand. Yeah. And
then you founded something called Wasia.
Yes. So let's fast forward now. We've moved to Dubai now. I'm still doing my agency thing. I can't take all the credit for Wasia. I'll give you a bit of backstory. I was approached. Me and a friend, Faisal, were approached by a brother, a French Moroccan brother. He'd already launched a version of Wasia, right? But targeting the French market. English not his first language. But he wanted to launch the concept to the English-speaking market, right? So he was having good success with the French market. He approached us to launch it, and we come up with a new brand for it, which is Wasia, and we took it to the English-speaking market, and we're still doing that today. So he is the real founder of it. He came up with the concept, and he did a lot of the hard work and behind-the-scenes stuff, running around, talking to developers, talking to government entities to make sure that things could be done in the way that we've done them. So he did a lot of the infrastructure, and now we've come and trying to take that and inform the English-speaking market that there is now a way to get onto the property ladder without getting a loan, without involving banks. There's a payment plan involved, but there's no third parties. It's you and a developer, and we've removed late payment fees. So it's a totally, inshallah, Sharia compliant, permissible contract that you're in, which is still, even like this 2.5 years after I'm hearing about it, it still amazes me that we've been able to do that. Because and the reason it amazes me is because before I knew it existed, I myself was struggling with that problem. I knew people struggling with that problem. They were trying to buy property, and these clauses and these issues in the contract were coming up, and you couldn't get around it really. You had to work very hard to get around it if the developer even would let you.
Can you explain what Wasia does? What is the main reason for Wasia? Because we've had this conversation. I have the utmost respect. I'm very impressed by it. But explain what Wasia is.
Okay, so developers here in Dubai, the UAE, and the broader region, they will sell off-plan property, which means property that's not yet built or is being built. And they'll give you a payment plan for that property. So they'll say, okay, we're launching this tower. It's going to be handing over, so the keys will be ready in 2027, so 2 years from today. And we're going to give you a 4-year payment plan, right? So you can pay us a little bit now, a little bit during construction, and then even after you get the keys, you'll still have 2 years to actually finish off paying it. So for an investor, this is very lucrative because you can actually purchase a property that's being constructed. You don't have to put down the full amount. Sometimes you're putting down as little as 20, 30, 40% in that time. What many investors will do is they'll sell it before it even hands over for a profit, or others will keep it and use it for rental yield. Now, that's all well and good, but the issue is in that contract that they give you, very many developers putting in late payment fees, late payment penalties. So if you are looking at a 4-year payment plan, if you're late on one of those monthly payments that you've agreed to, the contract necessitates that you pay late payment fees, right? Which very, very quickly add up. And we've seen some investors paying close to $17,000 plus dollars, not dirhams, dollars, just in late payment fees on one investment, right? Which completely changes the face of the investment, right? And they wouldn't have accounted for that in their initial calculations. So on top of it being an impermissible clause, it also can, quite frankly, just change your whole investment, right? In a way you didn't expect. So what Wasia does, we've partnered with over 20 developers now to give Sharia conscious investors a way to enter that same contract, but without those late payment fees. So we remove the late payment fees in all their forms, so that on day one, what you're agreeing to pay, even if you're late, that's not going to change. So you're protected from a Sharia perspective, and also your investment is protected in a way that it otherwise would be quite vulnerable.
What inspired you to do a Sharia, to focus solely on a Sharia compliant?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I was approached, right, with this concept, the real estate market here is bustling, shall we say, with many brokers. There's not a shortage of brokers, right? So I didn't want to enter the market as just another broker. Okay, as you know, as I said, I have a marketing agency. I've got stuff to focus on, but because of the Sharia aspect to this, we're not just another broker. We're bringing something new to the market, or something innovative to the market, should I say, rather than new. And that was something I was quite passionate about. Again, I myself was struggling with that initially. I knew other people trying to invest, but couldn't because of these clauses. And I wanted to, we've spoken about this off camera many times, of the concept of Muslims moving here to the UAE or moving to any Muslim country to set up base and stay long term and do hijrah basically. And I saw this as a really amazing way to facilitate that and to promote that and to make it easier to do that, because a lot of the time you'll hear a rebuttal is like, what we're going to do for housing and long term security and things like that. Well, this, without taking a loan, of course, right, without getting involved in the riba. Now this is a real way to do that, right? And I've become quite exasperated with a lot of offerings out there that claim to, protect you from certain things. Yep. But when you look beneath, it's like, it's not quite, it wasn't satisfying me. And there was a lot of wordplay, a lot of dancing around things. So when I looked at this, initially I was like, is it really the real deal, or is it again a wordplay thing? And when I saw it was a real deal and it really was removing the impermissible clauses, it was just too good to turn away from it, to be honest with you. And I'm still very passionate about it.
I think not many people are aware that even if you go on a payment plan, that it may not be Sharia compliant, it might not be halal because of them clauses. And I think that's something that Muslims need to be educated on.
You're right. And we've had many cases of brothers actually coming to us after the fact. They'll see our content and they're like, wow, I'm actually in a payment plan right now. I had no idea that it had that clause in it, or I had no idea that clause is impermissible. In some cases we're able to help with that, even retrospectively. But it is important to know, like you're signing maybe one of the biggest contracts you're ever signing. Right? When you're buying an apartment or buying a townhouse, you may be purchasing the biggest thing you've ever purchased. It's very important to look through that contract and understand what powers and rights you have, what powers and rights the developer has. And by and large, you're very well protected here in Dubai. Very well protected. The regulations that are in place, they're fantastic, quite frankly, and it makes investing in Dubai extremely safe as it is. But this last sort of mile is very, very important, right? For Muslims especially, it's very, very important. To the point where, people are refraining from investing because of these clauses. So the fact that we're able to, alhamdulillah, remove them, it's a blessing, honestly.
What were the biggest challenges that you faced when setting up Wasia?
So you kind of touched on it, the education aspect, right? So everyone knows about investing in Dubai. That's great. But getting the message across that you have to be careful about every contract you sign has been tough, continues to be tough. So educating the market about what we do, the role we play, that's been an ongoing battle that we're still battling with. And just growing a brand in general, right? Growing any brand from zero is tough, especially in the first year, even the first 2 years. I mean, we're about 2.5 years in. Alhamdulillah, we've made good progress, but building a brand is tough, especially when it is a crowded market, right? The real estate, even though I believe we're bringing something very, very innovative.
Completely different.
Yeah, I hope so. It's still a crowded market, right? If you're looking for investment in Dubai, there's no shortage of companies offering you that.
Yeah.
So, standing out from the crowd as much as possible, it is tough, but we believe in what we're doing. We believe that we've got something different, something beneficial, not just an investment, but it's the safest way to invest, I believe, in Dubai. So, in property. So, yeah, that's tough, but we push on.
What is the significance difference of these payment plans compared to, let's say, a Sharia compliant mortgage, which
Right.
I quote unquote Sharia compliant mortgage?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're trying to drop me in it. So I can't speak, and I know there's different variations of quote unquote Sharia compliant mortgages. I'm not well versed in it because whenever I've looked into them, I've quite frankly been put off by ways things are worded or way things are structured. So I haven't really delved into the point where I can sort of go point by point. Neither do I have the knowledge, quite frankly. Even if I did, I'm not knowledgeable enough on the subject. What I can do is explain how when you're investing through Wasia, you're not actually, there's no bank involved at all.
Yeah.
There's no loan involved. So Wasia is not loaning any money. There's no third party putting money in. It's actually you as the investor paying the developer, the ones building the building itself, directly. It's a direct payment plan.
Yeah.
We're not changing that. So if you were to approach the developer and buy it directly, that's the same relationship you're going to have when you come through Wasia. The only difference is we give you that extra layer of protection by removing those clauses that otherwise wouldn't be removed. They'd remain in there, and you remain quite vulnerable to if you invest, right? Again, the late payment fees. So what we're basically doing is acting as a very, small screen between you and the developer at that early stage where you're actually signing the contracts.
Yeah.
And after that, your relationship is with the developer. And again, another way that Wasia kind of stands out in this scene is we don't just disappear at that point, right? Other brokerages get the sale, our job is done, we're a broker, goodbye. Wasia, we actually say we're going to support you throughout the entire payment plan, right? Because sometimes an issue can arise. We've obviously got a relatively custom and bespoke arrangement in place. So issues can arise where, maybe in 3 years' time, a new account manager comes from the developer and they weren't aware that there was a different contract signed. So we're there to ensure that, no, we've actually got this contract here and it's guaranteed by us as well. So that's how we do things differently. There's no loan involved. There's no mortgage at all. You are just paying directly rather than there being a third-party bank involved.
With the lack of education about Sharia compliant payment plans compared to a normal payment plan, because on the face of it, a normal payment plan, you'd look at it and you think it'd be Sharia compliant because you're just you're paying for it yourself.
Yes.
How have you overcome that obstacle of people that might show some resistance against it?
Yeah. So our ideal target market is someone who's already gone to the developer, seen that contract, seen that clause, and said, "Oh, I can't sign that."
Yeah.
Right. And we many brothers are doing that, and sisters, many investors are doing that, and then they find us, right? So most of the time, if they're really being careful about what they're signing, as we should be as Muslims, they're almost going through with it, and then realizing right at the end that they can't go through with that contract and finding us. As for other investors who, they come across us and they're sort of struggling to see, where we fit in, we just try our best to explain to them that if you go directly, one, you're signing a contract with riba clause in it, right, which we know the dangers of, and two, again, you're leaving yourself vulnerable to late payment fees, as I said before. Those can rack up very, very quickly. A 4-year, this one developer we have doing upwards of 10-year payment plans, right? I'm sure you've missed a phone payment here or there, or a water payment here or there by accident. It happens, right? I just forgot to pay it, and I'm just late with it. Yeah. Well, in a 10-year payment plan on an apartment or a villa, every now and again you're going to be late just by accident, even, right? And then before you know it, these costs are racking up in the background, and sometimes you don't even get notified. But then at the end of it, you get hit with that. By the way, you were late 7 times throughout the payment plan, and here's your late fees. So it's again.
You get hit with it at the end.
Depends. Sometimes it. We've had some instances where literally if the payment was due on Tuesday at midnight, it's like 1 minute into Wednesday, the email drops that you're late, and here's your late payment fine, right? Literally a minute after it was due.
And then there's time zone difference as well.
There's time zone difference as well. But then some other times, I think it can sort of like, there's not a notification, but later on they'll check, right?
Yeah.
They'll check. It was due on, the 13th of this month, but it actually came in on the 18th. So therefore, you were late.
Especially if you're making international transactions as
well.
well.
There you go. Right. So if anything, it's going to be the first couple of months, you'll have teething issues where I have to pay 5 days in advance actually because of this. But before you know it, you actually got some hefty fines. And then again, if you've got 4, 5, 6 year payment plan, just by accident, you're going to miss a couple here and there. So even if an investor is unconvinced or unmoved for some reason about the riba perspective, just from a purely protecting your investment perspective, it's wiser to go through us to invest, because even if you are late, you're not going to get a late payment fee.
And I think the big thing is as well, when people look at halal mortgages or whatever, the amount that you actually pay on the face of it is significantly higher compared to a payment plan with Wasia.
That's true. And again, it depends on the type of investment, apartments and villas and the location of it will change that. But when it comes to loans, right, at the end of the day, you're paying back a significant amount more than you took essentially, right? So like I said, with us, there is no loan. Right? You're paying directly. The developer sets the price, right? And on day one, you get to say, okay, that's a price I'm willing to pay for this. You can check the market data. You can check what other one bedrooms are selling for in that location. You can decide for yourself, is that an extortionate amount or is that an okay amount? Am I getting a great deal? You can decide that on the day, and you invest knowing that
certainty in the transaction.
That's it. Knowing that that's not going to increase now, right? There's no the rates went up, right? No, it's not. It's not nothing to do with that. You agreed it on day one, and this is kind of the benefit of plan, right? You buy something in 2025, it's handing over 2027. Everyone knows Dubai is on an upward trajectory, right? Things are going back, things are going good, economy's booming, businesses are booming here. You're able to invest in property before it's built in locations that are being invested in. Every day we're hearing about new metro lines coming up here and airports coming up there. So you're able to invest at usually what would be a lower price than it would be worth in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, especially if you're thinking 10 to 20 years ahead. If you're thinking as a long-term investor, then we're early here in Dubai. So this is kind of the benefit of plan, coupled with what I said before, which is you're not paying the full amount until you get the keys anyway. And sometimes you're not paying the full amount until 2 or 3 years after you get the keys. So a lot of investors will just simply sell it at that point, even though they've only put 40% into the apartment. Now they're selling it and getting a hefty profit. And again, I'll caveat that with, that's not the case for every apartment, not the case for every project or every developer, but that is, generally speaking, a rule of thumb if you're buying in good locations at good prices.
How did you manage to partner with over 20 developers?
That's a good question. So again, the brother who founded our parent company, he did a lot of the hard work initially. He did a lot of the partnerships. But then since Wasia's growth over the last couple of years, alhamdulillah, we've managed to partner with even more. The way it works is a bit different each time because, what I do like about developers is they are very open to discussion, right? I've visited their offices and had the discussion with them. We've done it over WhatsApp. We've done it over calls or voice notes. So there's a lot of back and forth, but essentially we present them with our, adjusted contract, right? And we have to, get to the right decision maker. That can take some time. Convince them that this is a good thing for them, and we're going to be able to bring them more investors because of this sort of new model. And alhamdulillah, by and large, they're open to it.
How did they initially react to your concept?
Okay, so the concept, what I will say is the concept of being Sharia compliant is not alien to them. Right. So again, unlike the West, if I was to go to Western in the UK or something like that, and say, hey, we want a Sharia compliant plan, they might even call the police on me or something. I don't know. Here it's nothing like that. It's like they understand that, and some of them they already have certain ways to try and accommodate that, but we have a very high standard that we have to meet. Right, our criteria is very, very high.
What's your criteria?
Again, no late payment, no late payment fees in any sense. Right, we've seen some developers, again, dance around it, wording differently, we won't take it out of the contract, but we'll just say we won't do it. It's not quite enough, right? So we have a very strict set of criteria they have to meet. And they had one developer recently, again, a lot of dancing around before you got them to actually commit to it, right? A lot of dancing around. But again, it's not alien to them to try, because they get investors who come in and say, look, I want it Sharia compliant, can you do that? Can you do this? So what we do is we make it more formal. And so when the contract is actually signed, then, there's nothing, it's not just so-and-so said so, it's actually done, right? It's actually official. But yeah, their initial reaction is one of understanding, and then there's a bit of dancing around, and then we manage to get them to commit. That's usually how it goes.
How do you think the Dubai real estate market is evolving?
That's a very good question.
You touched up on it. Saying that we're kind of early adopters, early investors.
Yeah, I still view the Dubai property market as an equivalent, maybe something like London in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, London in the 80s, maybe. I feel like that's how early we still are. I just feel like there's so much investment going into the city as a whole in terms of, again, metro lines, international rail lines. There's going to be a GCC rail that's being constructed now. We've got a countrywide rail now in the UAE. The new airport coming up. So many things, so much infrastructure is going, being put into place here. And the reason that's happening is because of what's happening in the background, or should I say, what's happening in the foreground, which is people moving here, right? People are moving not just to Dubai, but to the UAE, and not just to the UAE, but to the region. Saudi, Qatar, they're all, putting a lot of energy and investment into building their status and their position in the world as a place to come and do business, and a place to live, and a place to retire, right? Which 10, 20 years ago was not the case. There's more of a transactional thing. You come and work here, and you go away and you've got the great money, and we got things. Now it's more like, come and live here, bring your kids here, and we're going to live here, and it's going to be great, and that's there's a paradigm shift for the whole region. And quite frankly, they're doing it at the perfect time, because other regions in the world are, looking like sinking ships. Okay, there's a reason you and me are sitting here recording, not in London, not in the UK, right? So that paradigm shift, it's hard to talk about Dubai's real estate market without talking about this paradigm shift that's happening, right? I'm seeing it in my circle, you're seeing it in your circle, everyone you bump into is seeing it in their circle. The face almost of Dubai and Sharjah is slowly changing with Western Muslims who want to come and live here as well. And just Western people in general, by the way, not just Muslims, but just people in general. And not just from the West, also from other parts of the world. They're flocking here, quite frankly. So this is all driving the infrastructure, the real estate. And we spoke before when we met initially, about the prevalence of studios here in the market, and not so many 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, right? And again, I think in 5-10 years time, there's gonna be a massive demand for 2-bedroom apartments, 3-bedroom apartments, 4-bedroom apartments, and villas and townhouses. And there's not that much supply for that right now. And the demand is gonna increase. So from multiple aspects, from multiple angles, we're very early in the market. And it's quite easy to spot where the trends are going, what locations are going to be booming, what kind of units are going to be in demand. And of course, only Allah knows what's going to happen. But from the data that we have in front of us, it can sort of see the trajectory. But yeah, I just think if I had to sum up Dubai's real estate market in a couple of words, just we're early. We're very early.
And do you think people need to have that mindset that it's not about short-term investing. It's not about making a quick buck. Although people prior may have done that, may have doubled their money. Like I know someone that bought a property in Dubai Creek Harbour a few years ago, and now they're selling it double the amount that they paid for it. But it's now shifting to long-term investment.
So look, you can make money quick in short term. It can be done. There's a bit more risk there, if you will. Not in the risk that you're going to lose all your money, but in the case of if you're really banking on making 20, 30, 40% within a year, it can happen. But should your whole investment,
is it sustainable?
Is it sustainable? How much of your free cash flow are you putting into that to make that happen, and how much are you relying on that? That can get risky. But looking at medium to long term, Dubai, like I just said, we're very, very early, and I've heard many investors and seen many investors again buy something in 2022. 2024, 2025, they're sitting on good equity, or they've sold it for a good profit. So it does happen, but I do feel like the rental yield here is also amazing, right?
I was just about to touch upon that.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why are we getting properties here with 10% rental, 8 to 10%, whereas back in the UK you're getting 4%.
That's right.
Maybe 5%.
So again, a lot of it comes down to like taxation.
Yeah.
In the UK, there's like, the council tax is so high, and stamp duties and so on and so forth. There's so many sort of other fees that you have to pay in the UK that here, as a homeowner, you don't have to pay, right? Or if you're paying them, they're much less than you would pay in the UK, and you're paying much less and getting far more, right? And here you pay service charges on your apartment or your townhouse, but you get a pool and a gym and a sauna and a local mall all sort of integrated into your community, right? So there's that aspect of things. The homeowner is paying less fees here and there to have their property, and also the tenant also has fewer fees to worry about in general, right? They don't have income tax, they don't have high bills to pay every month compared to the UK again, right? The electricity bill here, gas or water, is far cheaper here than it is in the UK. So this all contributes to we can make it so the yield on these is much better, and without totally pushing tenants out, without totally ruining the market, right?
I think tenants have a lot of rights here as well.
They do, yeah. You can't just like announce to a tenant that they have to leave now, right? You have to give them 12 months notice, and there has to be a good reason for that notice as well. It can't just be a case of like, hey, I think I can get a better deal if you leave. It's got to be a case of like
you or your family, first degree family members moving into the property, or you're selling the property.
Exactly that. And if the tenant does move out and it turns out that you lied, they can actually take legal action against you. So the tenant does have rights, and they're well protected, to be honest with you. And again, homeowners also have rights, right? So I had someone in the UK, one of my friends in the UK, he bought an apartment to rent it out, and after a couple of months, the person just started squatting in there, just weren't paying. I think it took him over a year to get them out, right? And he was losing money that whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas here, that wouldn't happen. One, it wouldn't happen in the first place, but two, if it did, that's not going to drag on for a year here. That's getting sorted out the same day or the same month, So all these different things come together to make it a very lucrative place to live, lucrative place to rent out your property. And when all these things come together, or in the case of taxes don't come together, it just leaves a lot more space for business and ROI, quite frankly, for everybody. So I think again, with Dubai, there's a lot of things in the background that contribute to this end product. You get a lot of people like, oh, how does Dubai manage to do that? And why is it so safe? And why is it like this? It's not one thing driving that. It's a massive ecosystem and infrastructure behind it that's been engineered for decades now. And that's the end product, right? So that's the long answer to your question, which is like, why is ROI so good? There's so many things at play.
What do you think of the Dubai real estate market? What impact do you think that's having on Sharjah, Ajman, Ras Al Khaimah, Abu Dhabi?
They're definitely benefiting. I think Sharjah, 2024 was like potentially, I don't want to say its best year yet, but I think it was like the highest growth year from like 2023 to 2024. The amount of transactions and the value of transactions, I think, was the highest jump they've ever had. So, and again, this trend of people moving to Sharjah is also something else, right? People who want to live in Dubai but don't want to pay Dubai rent, Sharjah is an option for them. Or people who want a quieter, maybe more conservative life, Sharjah is also a great option for them. So I think Sharjah is seeing its own, I won't say renaissance, but it's seeing its own paradigm shift as well. Which I'm loving, by the way, because Sharjah is a beautiful place as well.
Sharjah is so underrated.
Yeah, it really is.
It really, I think when you say to people back home, everyone just thinks about Dubai, and if you say to them Sharjah, they probably turn their nose up on it or something like that. But Sharjah has got some beautiful places. It's got so many masajid.
Yes.
I think there's over 400 or something like that, something significant. And I feel like it's just a lot more conservative. You'll just see it's a dry state. And I feel like people that are moving to Sharjah at this moment in time have a certain mindset. If they're moving from the UK, it's a bit more focused on Islamic, more focused. I think they're more kids and, they've got kids and things like that. But you get all the convenience of Sharjah. Like you would in Dubai, food places, etc. A bit cheaper as well. And I think the best thing about it is Dubai is on your doorstep. Albeit a lot of traffic, but if you can avoid the traffic times if you're working from home or something like that, I think it's perfect.
I mean, what people don't know is like Dubai and Sharjah basically merge, right? I think in other countries, like to go from one city to the other, you're going to have to do like 40 minutes on a highway to connect the two, right? Here it's very much like, if you said it was one city, looking at a map, you would say, of course it is.
Yeah.
So it's very much sort of like a line in the sand almost that divides them. So it's almost like they're one city. And the UAE in general, as you mentioned, has all those conveniences, right? All the conveniences that Dubai has in terms of like safety, food and pharmacies delivered within 20 minutes. That's UAE wide, right? So like I said, it's not just Dubai. It's like a UAE thing. It's a regional thing. Qatar and Saudi have same. Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait. Like this whole area is extremely easy to live in with far less fees and taxes on you. Extremely safe for you and your children. Masajid everywhere.
I think we were talking about this last week when I was telling you I went to Park and Shop to get some British stuff. And when I went there, and you actually gave me a different perspective, because you said, the UK stuff is slightly more expensive, although it's not even that much more expensive compared to the UK now. But you're buying the items with money that you haven't been taxed on. Whereas in the UK, you would have been taxed on it, then you would have paid VAT at 20%. Here, you're only paying at 5%. So it
works out about the same, or maybe even a little bit cheaper now. I don't know. I'm going back to the UK in a few months. I'll check the price of what's this.
Mate, it's kind of expensive, man. Like when I first moved here in June, and I moved here, and then I was looking at things from the UK, and obviously you look at spinnies and you look at Waitrose, and you're like, oh, this is expensive. Like the one thing I bring back from the UK all the time is squash. Okay, squash is expensive here. But now, like I look at certain places and I look at the price. I went back to the UK in August and September again, and I looked at it and I was like, it's not even that much cheaper here. And this is British stuff, so like it's not imported or anything like that. And here you're paying for the import and things like that, and it's not that much. It's not that much of a difference.
It's not. And I remember like post-COVID, or last 3 or 4 years now, really, this whole like, if you speak to someone in the West, they'll tell you about the global inflation crisis. This inflation thing is like affecting the whole world, right? Which is what they've been told. To make it seem like it's not just them. And I remember, I speak to family back home, like, the price of this is going up, prices of eggs are going up, our electricity bill through the roof, water bill through the roof. And I remember them sort of like walking me through it month by month, how expensive eggs are getting, how expensive meat is getting. And I'll just look at the UAE prices, it's like, it hasn't barely budged. Milk, like since I remember like paying for milk when I first got here 5 years ago, and now I'm pretty sure it's the same price. Eggs as well.
It is here, and I say this to anyone that asks me about here, you can live life here as expensive as you want or as cheap as you want, as in on a budget. Like you can do things like go to Viva, which is like the equivalent of Aldi. You can go to the fruit and veg market and the meat and fish market, and it's relatively priced. It's priced quite decent. Like,
very well, I mean, I switched a lot from my UK brands to a lot of like local brands, right? So like, for example, tea, big tea. Look, grew up in the UK. I
bought tea bags with me.
But here's the thing, right? Instead of buying like Yorkshire tea or Tetley, now I'll just buy like what's the one I use? Al-Khuzai tea, right? And it's just as good, but it's much cheaper, right? So and the same thing for everything else. Anything I got used to in the UK, I just found a local equivalent,
alternative,
made in Saudi, made in UAE, and it's just
it takes good. A bit of time. Like cheese, for example. Cheese was a difficult one for us.
What cheese do you? It's taking a weird turn.
We were getting grated cheese in it from like mozzarella.
Okay.
And I felt like this ain't mozzarella, man. Like and even cheddar, it just did not seem right.
Is it?
The way it was melting and that.
Okay.
But now we've figured out that if you go to the cheese counter and you get block of cheeses, that's really good.
That's where I go. So where are we going? Like from the package?
Just like packaged from the local supermarket. So cheese counter is perfect.
Yes.
Almarai cheddar cheese block's good.
Yeah. I get I do pay the imported cheese actually. I think I go like an Irish. I like mature cheddar.
Same.
If it's not matured, don't bother. So I think I pay for the Irish one. Because I don't think you get local cheddar anyway. It's different cheeses.
Different cheese. Like the other day when I went to Park and Shop, I bought Cathedral City cheese.
Oh yeah,
I've seen mature cheddar, man.
Oh, I'd say that actually. There's one called Craxton or Croxton mature cheddar. I think that's local or not too far away, and that's good.
That's quite similar.
Try Croxton or Craxton, one of the two.
Yeah, but to be honest, the other day we had a proper British meal, man. I bought bird's eye fish fingers,
Okay.
rams and chips,
Yeah.
and some beans.
Yeah,
And it just
yeah.
felt like home, man.
Fish finger sandwiches. That's
Mate, fish
that's
finger
legit.
sandwich, elite, man.
Yeah, it is elite.
Yeah, but even then, like things like when you're going to the supermarkets and it's trial and error for you.
Yeah.
For the first so long, like
So we found brands that now we really like here.
Yeah.
Right. So they're made in the UAE or Saudi
Yeah.
or just in the region. And now that's like our go-to brand for that
Yeah,
thing now.
yeah.
So as you said, it takes time to adjust. It takes years to find what those brands you really like are.
yeah.
But for example, we now we found these like air fryer ready chicken strips.
Oh yeah.
And usually in the UK, I don't know, the chicken strips like you get, they're rubbish. Like,
Yeah,
they're rubbery,
yeah,
they're too
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
You can never cook them right.
Yeah.
And now it's like I actually found someone that's really, really good. It's a local company.
Yeah, is it that fresh farm?
There's that which
Farm
I like,
Fresh,
Farm
yeah,
Fresh, which I like.
yeah.
There's another one called, I think it's called Saha or something like that. Saha, I think it's called.
Yeah, is
And,
it the red writing?
I think so.
Yeah.
You made in UAE. I
Yeah.
tell you what, best chicken strips I've ever had. Really good, man.
Yeah.
So sometimes you find alternatives are actually better than what you had in the UK.
Yeah. You know what? Did you find that sometimes like it's cheaper to order food than it is to cook?
Yes.
But like if it's two people or like
which
2.5 people.
which still blows my mind. And again,
Yeah.
I go back to the UK, it's like, I'll just get a takeaway. Takeaway is like 80, 90 quid for like 4 people.
it is,
It's insane. And here it's like you can genuinely get like a full meal and pay like £4 delivered.
Yeah, delivered. Yeah.
Not delivery fee on top. That's it, delivered. You're getting a biryani, you're getting everything you need. And it's like, yeah, you're right. It can sometimes be cheaper, dangerously, to order in than it is to cook. But yeah,
do you cook?
We do cook. We try our best to cook as more.
Do you cook?
Not much.
Just the chicken strips.
Yeah, just chicken strips only. But I do like cooking every now and again.
I like cooking as well, to be honest. What are the common mistakes that you see from investors that are coming from the UK or anywhere around the world that are investing in the UAE?
Not buying enough chicken strips now. Biggest mistakes they're making, other than again just diving into contracts with late fees. I think that's a big mistake. Not researching the developer they're going after, or they're investing with, should I say, and not researching the data around the location they're investing in, right? So there's a very good app and website called DXB Interact.
Yeah.
You Google it. Fantastic. It's based on Dubai Land Department data, so government data. You can find out down to each apartment in each building. So you can type in a building name, and you can find room number 609. How much was that sold for recently? How much did it rent for recently? You can find it, right down to that granular level.
Yeah.
And with that data, it gives you a little mini report on the area. You can see, okay, based on today's data, this month's data or this last quarter's data, one bedroom in this location rents for an average of 47,000 dirham a year. That would make my investment, if I use today's data, that would make it a good investment because I'm going to be making, 7.2% ROI on that.
Yeah.
It's a good investment. That's actually, now I've done the maths, my investment, I only get about 5.8%. Maybe it's not great. I'll look for a different location or get a better price, right? So going through that data before you purchase is really important to figure out if you're, and again, you can't, if it's off plan, you're looking at 2 years down the line. So you can't say the data is going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Could be much better, of course.
Yeah.
But at least you're looking at data. At least you're trying to make an informed decision. And it gives you a very good indication of like where the market, if it's not going to be exactly there in 2 years' time, at least it can be there at some point again. Markets go up and down, as we know. So look at the data. DXB Interact.
Of course, you've got a strict criteria with working with developers when it comes to Sharia compliance. But do you have any other criteria about the developers you work with? Do you only work with certain developers because of their reputation, the quality of their build, generally units are delayed here. You'll go and add 6 months, but there's no do you put that into your criteria?
So quality, we take quality seriously, and we have refused to work with developers even though they're open to working with us because of quality complaints. So that's a big thing. Delays is a tough one because sometimes it's not even the developer's fault, but it's kind of become known that you should give a bit of leeway for delivery, and we inform our investors of that. It's like, look, it's saying Q2 2027, don't expect anything until Q3 because something always comes up towards the end where it just delays it a little bit. So that's kind of become part and parcel of the industry. But yeah, quality is something we take very, very seriously. If there's serious quality issues or enough quality complaints, or we go, because we try, of course, to visit existing projects from developers, right? If they've already delivered stuff before, we can go and see that. We can see the reviews of that building, When we visit it, we look at the finishing and things like this. And it gives us an idea of like what we're dealing with here. So if there is, and there has been developers who we haven't, quite liked their product, we just refuse to work with them.
What are the top 3 developers in terms of quality?
Okay. It's hard to look past email still.
Yeah.
Still very hard to look past email. But another one that's often overlooked by like people new to the market is Ellington.
Yeah.
Ellington is seriously impressive.
Yeah.
Seriously impressive. So I'm not gonna rank them, but I'll just give you 3 that I would give my stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Email, Ellington, and Omniat. Yeah.
What would you say are the top 3 pound for pound?
Pound for pound is very interesting, because there's stuff that's like quote unquote mid market that's just very well priced.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I'm gonna go for pound for pound. I think Samana gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah. They're the ones that do the pool.
They have pools on the balcony and stuff like that. The reason I like them pound for pound is because they've got a lot of amenities and luxuries built in. Yeah. And the locations are good. They build their stuff like close to exits of a community. That I think they're very good at choosing those slots. And again, there's a lot of amenities packed in for quite a good price. Yeah. Right. So if you are someone who's looking to rent out Airbnb, for example, a Samana building is very, very lucrative. Azizi also. Yeah. For some of their projects, I would say, not all of them. Pound for pound, hard to beat. Again, location-wise, especially if you're looking in Dubai South. There's not 100 developers in Dubai South right now. So Azizi is there, and their pound for pound stuff, again, I'd say worth looking into. And then still Ellington, just because just very, very beautiful, honestly. Yeah. When I think Ellington, I just think it's beautiful.
Where are Ellington properties generally?
They've got a few all over the place. They've got dotted around downtown. They've launched stuff on Dubai Island, which is a location not many people are looking at yet, but they should be. Which is
Talk to us about Dubai Island.
Okay, so where Dera is, where the current airport is, off the coast, an island is a series of islands have been built, and there's already yacht marinas, but there's going to be more yacht marinas, golf course, a very large mall is coming up there as well. And there's going to be a lot of, mid-market and luxury apartments on that island, right? So, the yachts and the golf course.
And there's going to be an 8-lane bridge.
That's right. It's just 2 days ago. I can see you're keeping tabs. Yeah. 2 days ago, an 8 lanes, so 4 lanes in one direction, 4 lanes in the other direction, is going to. It's already well connected, but it's going to increase connection, right? So it kind of, again, it gives you an idea of the kind of traffic they're expecting to go on the island, right? Because again, there's going to be yacht marinas, golf course, large mall, and all the other stuff is going to pop up as a result. It's I think I can't remember the exact amount of money being invested, but an 8-lane highway, 8-lane bridge is no joke. Yeah. So that's going to be. It's just another example of Dubai investing in itself, right? And this is why when there is a new island that's coming up, that's companies like Ellington and others are building on. And then a bridge like pops up. It's like, okay, this is now, again, like I said before, you can see the trajectory. The data's there for you to see. Where's a good place to invest in Dubai? Well, all these top developers are launching here. It's an island. Yeah. It's going to have golf courses. It's already got 1 yacht marina, more coming, massive bridge. You tell me, does that sound good or not? Yeah. So you can kind of see where things are going from that perspective. But Dubai Island, because it's quite early there still specifically, nothing's really handed over yet. Lots of launches, but nothing's completed yet. That's one to watch and one.
What kind of prices are you looking at in Dubai Islands?
To be honest with you, it's like at least 1.2, I think 1.2, 1.3 for a studio. So it's definitely not mid-market. It's definitely higher end of the market. But again, you're paying for location here. You pretty much got sea views. I'm pretty sure if you're above floor 2 or 3, you're going to get sea views, right, from one direction or another. And the amenities there, like I said, are going to be pretty good. You're going to attract, quite frankly, people who own yachts, right? There's the yacht marinas. There's going to be multiple yacht marinas, so you're going to attract that kind of caliber of person. That's a sort of starting price.
You're helping people save late payment fees. What is the most that you've seen someone that maybe has come to you retrospectively and told you that this is how much I paid in late payment fees? Yeah, so I won't say what someone has specifically said, but we had someone from our parent company who had racked up. I think it was $17,000. Yeah.
Yeah, $70,000 in late payment fees. So again, that changes the whole face of the investment. When you invest in the property, you do your maths, right?
Yeah.
I'm investing this much. Again, I looked at the data. I can expect this kind of ROI from it and rental yield and so on and so forth. And then, you know, when you get the keys, you realize that, okay, I've actually had to pay an extra $17,000 now in late fees. That's changed all your calculations. All your calculations gone out the window now, right? So it would be the equivalent of like investing without looking at the data, right? Because there was no point. Your investment's gone up by $17,000. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's instances of people paying more than that, which is scary to think about.
Yeah.
But that one was confirmed, like he had that to pay. So,
what's your most significant learning experience you've had through Wasia?
That's a good question. I would say just that it's been a reminder that brands take time.
Yeah.
Right. Brands take time. So it's easy when you're launching something to fall into the trap of like, you know, this is such a good product that we're going to launch it and people are going to flock to us overnight. But no, things take time. You have to be consistent. You know, it's been a reminder of consistency. And especially when it comes to things like real estate, we're not selling, shoes here. Yeah. We're selling, massive investments, right? So you have to build trust with your audience. You have to educate your audience. And quite frankly, you have to be around for a while for people to even consider working with you, right? Yeah. It's not a small thing, right? When you've been around for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, as many agencies, many brokerages in Dubai, some of them are hitting, 20 years in business, 30 years in business. There's a reason they're doing well today because they've just been in the market for so long, building trust, building brand over that time period. Same with the developers. Many developers here, 20, 30 years old, they've been doing it for a long time. That instills trust, right? If an investor comes to us today and says, hey, I want to invest, and I recommend them Damak and Ema on one hand, and a brand new developer who's only started a year ago on the other hand, they're going to be like, you know what, I think we'll go for the more established one. Yeah. Just because, of course, it's human psychology, right? So, whilst whenever you start something new, I feel like you get reminded of that. Like, you have to be in it for the long term, you have to be consistent, you have to keep showing up, and that's how you build brand.
Can you share a moment when you face significant doubt or uncertainty?
Doubt and uncertainty, I don't think it needs a specific time. I think it can come about any time, even when things are going, okay, right? You still think, oh, is that sustainable now? Yeah, right. We're making.
Is it sustainable? How long is it going to last for?
How long will it last? And so I feel like people have this concept where, like, when things are bad, you'll doubt yourself, or you'll feel vulnerable. But I don't think that goes away, right? Yeah. Such as human psychology, such as shaitan, whispers things. Greedy enough. Yeah.
You're making money, you want more money,
you want more money, you're scared of losing the money you got. Yeah. I'm earning this much now. What if it goes away, and what am I going to do then? How will I look then? These are all like, whispers from shaitan, or also your human psychology sort of playing, you can talk yourself into these situations, right? Or be talked into them. So I think if you let doubt creep in, you're going to be doubting yourself or worried, no matter where you are in the business, whether it's day 1, day 1,000, right? Yeah. So, do your best and trust Allah.
What's the most shocking thing that you've learnt whilst doing Wasia?
Shocking thing. Again, I guess the late payment fees. I knew they were a thing, but I thought they were like a slap on the wrist. Yeah. I thought they were like, we should remove them because it's impermissible to remove them. Yeah. And then I started to realize that no, people were actually paying like thousands of dollars of this stuff. So, that's probably the most shocking thing, to be honest.
What next for Wasia? What do you envisage Wasia? Where do you want to go to? Where's the future? Yeah. So again, Wasia is like I said, the English speaking arm of the company, if you will, right? Of our parent company. So we've had discussions already with people who want to take this concept to like Pakistan, for example, and market it there to investors there. And, so that would be a great way for us. India would be a good idea. That's right. So I'd love for someone to partner with us and, take us to these different regions and be our essentially like a franchise in those regions and just own that market for themselves. Because like I said, I believe we bring something genuinely innovative and amazing, right? For Sharia conscious investors, it should reach everywhere. Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer for a Muslim investor. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, because like especially in the world we live in now, where riba is so rife, and I think like we discussed, people don't understand. I think even us, like growing up, we didn't understand the actual significance of how bad riba is. Yeah, like I think because we live in that system, it's become a norm. That's right. And having a mortgage is the only way. Well, people believe that having a mortgage is the only way for you to be on the property ladder, and there's a significance that you have to be on the property ladder when no, you rather rent for all your life rather than buy a property. It's overrated. Buying a property is completely overrated, and that's just the Islamic aspect of it. And then if you think the actual financials behind buying a property, like we mentioned, whether you get a traditional mortgage or a so-called halal mortgage, you end up buying a property for £250,000. You end up paying 500 grand on it. Yeah, you're paying double. Yeah, it makes no sense.
I sell property for a living.
Yeah,
don't buy a property if you're gonna get a loan or a riba loan or get involved in debt or get involved in a impermissible debt with riba involved. Don't buy property. Rent forever. It's a million times better than dealing with riba, dealing with usury interest, right? So if you have to dip into that to get a house, don't get the house. Don't get the apartment. Don't invest, right? But now, alhamdulillah, we've managed to build something where you can do it on a payment plan without riba, without interest. Now there's a path, right, to get, because there is good. It is a good investment. There is security built in when you're investing in a physical property that can be rented out or sold later on. These are good points, but not if you're going to delve into riba. Simple as it. If that's the case, stay away.
Tell me about your journey, your thought process of moving to Dubai. When did you move?
So I moved 5 years ago. Just about to come up to 5 years, I believe. I guess when I first started practicing 18, 19, 20, that sort of time period. And since then, I kind of always thought and said to my parents, I don't think I can stay here long term. I don't think London's where I want to be long term. I said to my friends as well. And I couldn't put my finger on it at that time. This was before a lot of the issues we see today were like really in the forefront. But I could just sort of see small things going ways I didn't like. And to be honest with you, I love the idea of living in a Muslim country, right? So when I met my wife and we got married, that was a big talking point. Like, would you want to move away from here? Is that something you'd entertain? And we both were on the same wavelength from that perspective. And then we sort of did like a mini tour of countries that we're considering. So we went to Malaysia, we came here, Qatar, we went to Kuwait, went to Turkey, and the Gulf by itself stood out for us. Like we really liked the culture, the laid back culture, the weather, everything. We liked the infrastructure, and among the Gulf, Dubai stood out because firstly, again, despite what people say, it is an Islamic environment. I'm sure in this building here, which is like a pure office building, I'm going to be able to go out in a minute and go and pray somewhere inside the building. And if not, there is, I know there is, but if not, there'll be a masjid very, very close by where I go to, right? Walking distance. And that's the case all over this emirate and all over the country. Alhamdulillah, it's a blessing, right? And again, like I said before, we're not looked at, we're involved in Sharia compliant business. That's not alien to this place, right? People don't look at me like I'm crazy when I bring that up, right? It's a norm, right? Just like, Eid, the whole country is praying Eid Salah together at the same time, essentially. The whole emirate is praying at the same time. And all these different things, people
that are non-Muslims are giving you salam as well, replying to your salam.
Exactly, all these quote unquote small things come together to create an Islamic society, a society where Islam is the norm, Islam is respected. You're not fearing, walking out of your wife or your kids, or you're going to get harassed by somebody. All this stuff is an absolute blessing. So we found that here when we came here. And on top of that, it's a business hub, right? So someone who wants to start a business, you get that electric feeling in the air that things are happening here. And I think you're a good example. You said you moved here in June. Here you are less than a year later with a podcast, and you're doing things. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. This is what Dubai is about. People just coming to do things, try things, test things, experiment, launch something. That is an amazing feeling, to be honest with you. So coupled with the Islamic aspects of it, we visited once as like tourists, came back again, try deliberately not to be tourists. We stayed in like a more of a rundown part of town to see, do we really like it or just like being tourists? We did really like it. And then the third time we were sort of making plans, and then we moved, alhamdulillah.
Just going back to Wasia for a second, obviously Wasia, its main kind of target market is Muslims, but even more so, your ideal customer is someone that's doing hijrah, because that's just the way it is, because normally people that are going out with that mindset are generally people that don't want to get involved in interest and they want to maybe purchase property or, you know, move somewhere and have somewhere that they can call home. Do you think that you can replicate Wasia in different countries? Like, for example, Malaysia, like you went to Malaysia or Qatar, where you've been to these places now that you considered as hijrah. Other people would consider them places as well.
Yeah.
So you can replicate this same business model in them different countries.
Yes, and to be honest, we already have.
Oh, okay.
Right? Something that's already been done. So we're active in Morocco, Algeria, Egypt.
Yeah.
Oman is on the cards. Saudi is on the cards.
Oman's got a lot of properties and they're quite cheap as well.
Yeah, so they're very well priced. So the answer is Turkey. We're active in Turkey as well. So we have relationships with developers outside the UAE as well.
Okay.
But yeah, the plan is to expand our reach, both from the developer side and the investor side, inshallah.
No problem. Jazakallah for your time.
Barakallahu feek. Thank you for having me.
No problem.